Welcome to Greedy 3D. Today we're going to be making this young lady here, Wanda Maximoff, the Scarlet Witch. I'll show you the painting process and hope you enjoy all of that. And all done with a brush, no airbrush, but stay tuned, there will be an airbrush very, very soon. And if you like what we're doing here on the channel, don't forget to subscribe. So here we have the model loaded onto our Elegoo Mars 2 Mono. 4 batches has done the whole thing, and as you can see I like to cram things onto that build plate. It's been printing without any problems at all, and I've printed everything at 100%, so this model is going to be one beast. Now the only thing that's a little bit different here is that I cut down the stand initially just to get it to fit the Elegoo Mars 2, but then I decided, you know what, I'm going to print this on an FDM, and I printed it on my Ender 5. So I've gone for the Vallejo face painting kit, and there's quite a few variants in there for the facial colours that you're going to need. Now what I've done as well is I've just given it a base coat of the Army Painted Terran Flesh colour, and that gives me a great thing to work on. So I'm just using the wet palette to mix some face colours, varying shades really, as you can see in the pictures, and I'm watering the paints down and I'm just touching them up and touching over and looking at where natural shadows would be on the face. For example, the darker purple colour, you know, you would be a darker in colour around the eyes and around the inside of the nose and the lips. So that's what I'm using there, the darker colour, and as you can see a watered down sort of wet palette version, just to keep the contour of the eyes darker than the rest of the face. And I'm touching up certain areas. If you look at any old face really, it's not one colour, it's various shades. I've took a watered down black and I've just gone around the outside of the eyes as well, just to darken it a little bit, and it adds, because she's a woman and she's got makeup on and eyeliner, it just adds a little bit of colour into the eyes as well. So that's a little trick I picked up off YouTube. To make the whites of the eyes, it's not just white, I've mixed the white and the blue, and I've just taken my time there to colour in the whites of the eyes, and that outer layer of black now will just give it a little bit of an eyeliner look, I guess. That's exactly what we're aiming for. Take your time with this, a really narrow small brush, and normally I would do black on the centre of the eye, but I'm using a brown and a green to change the contrast in the colour of her eyes. Now, nobody likes doing eyes, I hate doing eyes, but I'm using the brown initially to just go around where the iris would be. Then I'm using the green on the inside to bring that forward. More black paint just to look like eyeliner, and the eyes are coming on really, really lovely. I pretty much hate doing eyes, as I say, so you're not alone there. I've used a little bit of a watered down brown just to give her a little bit of eyeshadow and a little bit of colour around the eyes, and I've used some more of the base flesh tone pink just to mix that into the skin so it doesn't look obvious and sticks out like a sore thumb. Again, this is trial and error, and it's took me a long time to get faces anywhere near looking any good at all, and I'm a novice at these, so practice makes perfect. Lips, nice pink colour on the lips, and I'm just going to make sure that I look at the contour of the lips as well and define and pick the bits of the lip out, the edges and the middle section of it, and just keep tweaking and twiddling with it till you get it how you want it. And look, if it goes wrong, what the hell, you can start again. For the hair colour, I'm using a red and an orange mix. She's not ginger, it's not that colour I'm aiming for, not an orange colour, but that's what I want to give as a base layer colour to her hair and her eyelashes. I will be going over this with a brown, which I'll show you in a bit, but I want her hair to really, really stand out and offset the face, so that's the colour that I've chosen to do. I'm using quite a large dry brush really to get the maximum of paint that I can get on. Now I haven't got an airbrush. I will be getting an airbrush very soon, and stay tuned for a video regarding my experience with my airbrush and which one I chose, but at this stage I'm just using the brush. Now as it's dried, you can see that it's darkened up a little bit, and I've got to be honest, I really like that colour, but what I'm going to use is just some brown, some leather colour from the Army Painter, and I'm just dry brushing that onto her hair all over, and I'll do that all over, as I say, and then I'll use like a yellowy colour to just dry brush on top of that. I wanted to give her hair lots and lots of different colours and lots of texture, and that's the way I've done it, and it looks, I think you'll agree, it looks really nice and unique. And there we go, that's the end result for the face, and I've I'm really pleased how that's come out. Really, really pleased. I love the contrast of the hair, I love the makeup. I just love the overall skin flesh tone colour. Okay, so let's move on to the body. And again, printing on the Elegoo Mars 2, it's a water washable. It's come out really, really well. The detail is incredible. I'm just using those same basic flesh colours, watered down and washed over the surface of the skin. Again, looking at where the highlights would be a lighter colour than the lower lights. Obviously within the cleavage there, where the shadows lie, it's going to be darker, the outer layer is going to be lighter. And I'm just dry brushing it on. I'm taking my time on watering the paint down, and I'm just mixing and matching it all up. Time to move on to a little bit of the colour now. Now I'm just using a little bit of a kind of cream colour, really, just to do the undergarment that you can see there. I think it's part of it looks like a bra. That's what I'm doing for that. And once I've done that, I'm going to move on to the black and just paint her. You can see where I'm going over. Just use a reference picture if you're not too sure, and just go over it. I'm using a fine brush to get the edges, but I will change to a thicker brush to make sure I get some really good paint coverage. Try not to go over the pink. You don't want to ruin all your hard work on the skin. And get that black on there. Couple of layers, let it dry. Use a hairdryer if you need to. And I'm using just some basic red paint for her jacket. I think it's a little bit more of a burgundy colour in the film, but I quite like the red, and I'm going to tone this down with a little bit of a wash at the end to give it a little bit of a dirtier look. But I'm really pleased with how the red has come out once it dries. It does dry a little bit of a darker colour. So again, narrow brush, just take your time, use a reference picture. Don't be afraid to have the computer open in front of you or your phone, just to make sure you've got a good old reference there. Take your time. The secret with painting really sometimes is just a little bit of patience and while away the hours just in another world. It's a really relaxing hobby and really rewarding when you get to see the end result. Now, like I said, picking up a bigger brush there just to get some more red paint over the back of the jacket, and let it dry. Give it another brush coat over of the same colour just to give it a bit of depth, and away we go. Just turning onto the hands now, and obviously she's got some straps around her hand which need to be black. There's a little bit of jewellery on there as well. And again, as you can see, the hand's been painted with a little bit of the Terran Flesh Army Painter base coat. This is a really good primer, and especially when you're painting skin, it gives you a really good base colour for the skin and acts as a primer too. Excellent paint. So onto the legs, and I've given these a base coat of black as that's going to be the predominant colour, and I'm just going to use some brown to dry brush across the boots to give them a little bit of a contrast colour compared to the leggings that she's wearing. Again, I'm just using some leather brown, and once that's done, I'm just going to use some of the skin tone that I've got, the lighter skin tone colour, and I'm going to highlight the laces on her boots. It just really gives a really good contrast to the rest of it. Take your time with this bit. I found this bit quite relaxing actually, and really pleased with how it looked at the end. Okay, you mentioned the wash earlier onto the leather kind of jacket she's wearing, and I've just used a flesh wash, which is a wash with a little bit of a red tinge to it, again from the Army Painter range, and I'm just covering that all over the leather jacket, and that gives it a really good texture, and it darkens the colour a little bit, makes it look a little bit more aged and a little bit more weathered. Just blast it on there with a big brush, and I'm going to use a fine brush just to pick out some of the finer details in the edging and the stitching of it. Okay, same principle with the lower part of her body with the dry brushing of different colours on the legs. No change to what I've done to the rest of her there. And once I've done that, to match the dress that she's wearing, the black is going on to the lower part of her too. And again, the same process as before, exactly. Now moving on to the base, I'm just using some different shades of brown to cover it all over, and once I've done that, I'm going to move on to the Army Painter Battlefield's basing kit and add some special effects to it. But before that, just dry brushing lighter colours of brown on. Now this I printed on my FDM on my trusty End of 5, and I'm really pleased how it's come out. Popping on the glue that you get with the Army Battlefields kit and liberally spread that on. And once you've done that, I'm using the sand effect. It's like a little bit of grit really, so I'm going to pour that all across using the tray that comes with the kit as well to catch it. Tap it off, catch all the bits that are falling off. Use some of the grass as well, give it a bit of a push with your fingers. Look at the effect on top of that. I'm so pleased with how that looks, and it's just a great finale really to the wonderful Wanda Maximoff. And there we go, it's all done. Let's have a look at the big reveal.